The Comptroller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, Haliru Nababa, has reaffirmed his commitment towards improving the welfare of personnel of service for effective service delivery. Speaking in Abuja during the 27th Annual General Meeting of Correctional Multipurpose Society, the Comptroller General of the Correctional Service, who was represented by Head of Directorate Inmate Training and Productivity DCG General Sylvester Nwache Ndidi, commended the personnel of the service for their dedication to duties. Correspondent Kunle Ojo reports that Nababa disclosed that the caucus put in place by the authorities of the service has ensured that personnel, when duly retired, get their accrued benefits within a maximum period of 3 months, which according to him remains a remarkable achievement. He therefore declared that the welfare of staff will remain the cardinal focus of his administration, given the state of the Nigerian economy and the attendant high cost of living.
The state of the Nigerian economy and attendant high cost of living, we have an urgent demand to think outside the box and come up with measures that will help bridge the prevailing economic gaps of our personnel. The need for them to be in the right frame of mind to concentrate on their duties rather than living under the pressure of trying to make ends meet should drive us to passionately pursue this goal. While delivering my inaugural address to command officers on assumption of duty about 3 years ago, I left no one in doubt that the welfare of staff will remain cardinal under my watch.
Nababa charged personnel of the service to remain steadfast and committed to the ideal of the service for effective service delivery. Earlier in her remark, the General Manager of the Society, Lydia Ibrahim, said the outfit has impacted positively on the lives of personnel of the service, while she appealed to them to remain committed.
We've put down measures to make sure that our personnel are doing very well. For example, we've, come into agreement with our 3 microfinance bank to make sure that they are provided food, like we say rice and other items.
The National Civil Society Council of Nigeria, NCSCN, attributes the unfortunate stampede that occurred during the distribution of subsidized rice in Lagos on February 23, 2024, to the failure of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The council noted that the incident would have been averted if a minister had been appointed to oversee the affairs of the ministry. The National Civil Society Council, in a communique issued at the end of an emergency meeting to deliberate on the state of the nation and other issues on the front burner of national discourse in Abuja, decried the poor state of the nation. According to the council, a communique jointly signed by its executive director Blessing Akin and Maxi Oscar Kalu, its director or programs and organization Food Insecurity, Living Below Standard, closure of industries leading to loss of jobs, were responsible for the current state of things in the country. It said absolved the Nigerian Customs Service of any blame for the stampede that occurred during the sale of subsidized rice in Lagos, adding that customs would have been relieved of the burden of the distribution of intervention items and saved itself from any attendant complications. The council also added that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation should have been active enough to play its mandatory role that the ministry has been without a minister since the sack of Betta Edu by President Bola Tinubu over the scandal and crisis that rocked the ministry.
After extensive appraisal of the reports of the ad hoc committee on the aforementioned observations and issues, the council hereby states our findings and make recommendations as follows. 1. That the food insecurity, low standard of living currently experienced by Nigeria, closures of industries leading to loss of jobs and low productivities is occasioned by high exchange rate.
We have suggested and profile solution. We don't just analyze the situation, cry and just talk about it. We have suggested progressive and productive way we believe the government can address the situation. Some are immediate, and some long term. The issue of communal crisis, the crisis between farmer and herders, banditry and all that, it is our belief that government needs to do much in the immediate for the purpose of making the security apparatus to be up and running and do the needful for the purpose of making the environment conducive for the farmers.
The council, however, commended the impressive performance of the Nigerian Customs Service under the new Controller General Bashir Adeniyi towards fighting smuggling and smugglers head-on with intensified vigor, which has yielded remarkable results and positive dividends. The chairman, Abuja Municipal Area Council, AMAC, Christopher Kalangu, on Saturday distributed bags of grains to vulnerable men and women in Saburi and Dakwa communities in Jiwa ward of the council. Kalangu at the ceremony said the gesture was to help cushion the effect of economic hardship on the beneficiary communities. According to him, the palliatives will be utilized on phases, with the first phase devoted to the distribution of food items to households in communities. The council chairman said the second phase would take care of subsistence farmers, micro, small and medium-scale enterprises. The chairman personally, alongside his aides, supervised the distribution of items consisting 50 kg bags of millet, corn, sugar and other food items in the communities. He reiterated his administration's commitment to do the needful towards ensuring equitable distribution of dividends of democracy. He, however, directed the immediate construction of a primary school in Bagusa community and also fenced the Downer Primary School for security purposes. The Women Initiative for Sustainable Environment, along with other partners, celebrated themselves as women and encouraged themselves to be productive and contribute to the economy meaningfully. Some women were also celebrated for their contribution to driving climate change mitigation and economic recovery in commemorating the 2024 International Women's Day in Kaduna State. Olanike Daramola, WISE founder and program director, says most people do not understand the concept of gender equality. She said women are not in competition with the men, rather they are only asking for equal opportunity. She encouraged women to continue to make giant strides in their field of chosen careers and must continue to have positive impact on climate change. Also speaking, Patricia Kendiken, founder Widows, Orphans and Women Initiative, says despite all the challenges in business and life generally, one must never give up, and at the end the person will smile. There was also panel discussion on how women can improve themselves going forward.
Misconstrued the meaning of gender equality and women's empowerment. I always tell people that it is not a contest between men and women, but it is a call to partnership, because we believe that everyone has something to bring to the table, not just adults, even children. So we have an inclusive way of celebrating. So we even have, persons with special needs amongst us, even children, the female, men. The celebration just cuts across everybody. We're celebrating those who have been making impact, both men and women who have been making impact in different ways.
I just want to say that if you're a woman and you're not depending on government, you will have less problem. A few days before I came from Edo State to attend this meeting. I was telling my daughter, say, see how expensive things are, and we are faring better than it used to be. So if you're focused, you're not waiting for government, you're doing one thing or the other, the economy is biting, but it won't be worse than it used to be. You will still survive.
Lack of getting that access is an issue. As the barrister has said, literacy level. If people can be more literate to know what they have or what they need, and they should have values. part of the issues that are affecting the barriers, women, especially in this part of the country we are, whenever they want to buy candles, they want to buy things in the home, they are not looking at empowerment, using what you have to get more.
You're still on to Galaxy Primetime News. We'll now take a quick break. When we return, we'll carry the rest of the news. We're glad to have you back. The Center for Africa Liberation and Socio-Economic Rights has kicked against the reappointment of Dr. Vincent Isegbe as the Controller General, Director General of Nigeria Agricultural Quantitatively Service. Dr. Isegbe has just been appointed by President Bola Tinubu to serve in the same capacity for another 5-year term in office amidst serious controversy surrounding his cumulative 9-year saddle on the seat. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the leader of the group, Comrade Ben Amudu, said Isegbe has served a financial autonomous 4-year period before the 5-year tenure, thereby stalling internal progression of the entire senior officials in the agency. The group, however, called on relevant organs of government to ensure that this government of renewed hope does not dash the hopes of the people, stressing that the needful step is to right the wrong advice of a status quo and that will jeopardize the fate of the Nigeria Agricultural Quantitative Quarantine Service. I beg your pardon.
Well, Dr. Isegbe's long tenure, all budgetary proposals have never been implemented to reasonable percentage, especially those for quarantine laboratories across the entire nation. It was in public knowledge that at expiry of his tenure in December 2023, he locked up everywhere and took the keys away since he refused to remove his personal belongings from the office.
Meningitis has been described by experts as a high mortality rate disease which has killed many Nigerians, especially children. Recently, Nigerian federal lawmakers asked the Center for Disease Control to find out the cause of death of more than 30 people in Gombe State suspected to be meningitis, and this is why people must be educated on danger of the disease. Galaxy TV correspondent Bosan Yakusek has details in this report.
Between 2022 and 2023, Nigeria recorded a total of 303 confirmed cases and 190 deaths from cerebrospinal meningitis across 29 states of the Federal Capital Territory. Meningitis occurs when there is an acute inflammation of the membranes covering the brain and the spinal cord, according to a public health advisory released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC. 2,765 suspected cases of meningitis were also recorded across 140 local government areas in the affected 29 states and FCT. Dr. Shahin Madiki, a medical practitioner, tells us more about the killer disease. He says Nigerians must be careful, especially during this dry season when the weather is hot.
It's year in, year out. We have cases of meningitis in out epidemic proportions, so outbreaks here and there. The recent one that happened in Yobe, in a school in Yobe, led to the deaths of many children. So basically, I think we have to emphasize on hygienic practices. We have to emphasize on early detection, early diagnosis, discourage self-medications and just patronizing just chemists without actually making a proper diagnosis.
Our correspondent also sampled opinions across the street on how educated people are about meningitis and how it could be prevented.
What we've heard about meningitis is that we should be careful about these are some diseases that occur during the heat period. You understand, during the heat period. So there are certain preventive measures to take, and one of it is for you to avoid crowded area and also make sure you are in area that has a more ventilation. My advice, I'm not a medical personnel, but based on experience, my advice is that when you're feeling some disturbance in your body, it's better you go to the hospital.
We should stay away from congested area. Make sure where you are, you have ventilation in and out. Don't stay in a congested area where you'll be breathing in and out of those that are sitting around you. Taking your hygiene seriously by washing your hands regularly in running water, not in a stagnant water.
Dr. Sheyi also explains some of the symptoms of meningitis and why Nigerians must avoid self-medication so as to ensure the killer disease is tackled early.
You know that usually it presents with common symptoms like fever, headache. You know, sometimes you can come with neck stiffness. You know, that's when once it starts getting a bit advanced. It can come with joint pains. It can come with abdominal pain. You know, these are some symptoms that you could just wave and think it's just a malaria or something, but it could be a meningitis actually. You know, and that's why we usually want people to get to hospitals once you have an illness. Even if you suspect malaria, run a test to be sure it's malaria. Don't just conclude and go on self-medication.
The disengaged staff of the Bafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital Complex, Ile-Ife, on Friday protested at the hospital premises following the failure of the management to reverse the decision to lay them off. More than 1,500 workers of the hospital were laid off by the federal government following alleged irregularities in the recruitment process. They were protesting against a circular by the management of the hospital to conduct examination for certain cards that would be considered for employment. The protesters, who were calling for the suspension of the examination, blocked the main gate of the hospital, preventing human and vehicular movement in and out of the complex. One of the disengaged staff, Samson Falope, told the newsman that the circular stated that the examination would be conducted on March 9 at the Command Day Secondary School, Army Barracks, Ede, Oshun. The public relations officer of the hospital, Ms. Kemi Fasoto, said the examination will be conducted by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare as scheduled. And now we'll move over to the foreign desk for more news. Hello and welcome to the foreign news. The United Nations Security Council has called for a ceasefire in Sudan to coincide with the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and allow aid to get to 25 million people in desperate need of food, with the humanitarian response at breaking point. 14 countries on the 15-member council on Friday backed the resolution proposed by the United Kingdom, with only Russia abstaining on the vote that called on all parties to the conflict to seek a sustainable resolution to the conflict through dialogue. Fighting has been raging in Sudan since April 15, 2023, pitting the army of General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan against the paramilitary rapid support forces of General Mohammed Hamdan. Tens of thousands of people have since been killed, 8.3 million have been forcibly displaced, and the fighting has additionally destroyed infrastructure and crippled the economy. Britain Deputy UN Ambassador James Kariuki urged the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF to act on this united international call for peace and to silence the guns. The resolution called on all sides to adopt an immediate cessation of hostilities ahead of Ramadan, a time for fasting, prayer and reflection for Muslims worldwide. It urged the warring parties to allow unhindered humanitarian access across borders and battle lines. As millions of people took to the streets to denounce Israel's brutal assault on Gaza that has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians, demanding justice and peace, support for Israel emerged from a surprising quarter, Iranian monarchist. They are supporters of Reza Pahlavi, son of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran's last Shah, who was toppled by the Islamic Revolution of 1979 at pro-Israel rallies. They have waved the old Iranian flag and chanted praise of Israel and its leader, Benjamin Netanyahu. Their confrontations with pro-Palestinian protesters, whom they accuse of being government proxies, reveal their stark divergence from the mainstream Iranian opinion, which has historically supported the Palestinian cause. Yet, the current Gaza war evokes complex reactions in Iran, as many Iranians avoid being associated with the government on popular foreign and domestic policies that have caused widespread discontent. Regardless, many Iranian civil society activists and dissidents try to balance criticism of their government with solidarity with Palestinians. The monarchist alignment with Israel therefore raises questions about their motives and how a big portion of the opposition they represent. And still on Iran, Iran has condemned a report by United Nations experts who concluded the Islamic Republic violent crackdown on 2022 on peaceful protest and the specific targeting of women and girls were serious rights violations, with many amounting to crimes against humanity. The report was built on baseless claims and false and biased information without a legal basis, Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Nasir Kanani said on Saturday. Demonstrations swept across Iran following the September 2022 death in custody of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Iranian Kurd who was arrested for allegedly violating the strict Islamic dress code for women. Iranian authorities refused to take part in an expert investigation that was mandated by the UN Human Rights Council in November 2022. In its first report, the independent international fact-finding mission said that many of the violations uncovered amount to crimes against humanity, specifically those of murder, imprisonment, torture, rape, and other forms of sexual violence, persecution, and forced disappearance and other inhumane acts. This was part of a widespread and systematic attack directed against the civilian population in Iran, namely against women, girls, boys, and men who have demanded freedom, equality, dignity, and accountability. And still on the foreign news, United States Navy ship and aircraft have shot down 15 drones fired by Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis in the Red Sea area. The U.S. Military Central Command said on Saturday that the U.S.-led naval coalition was responding to a large-scale attack by Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists launched into the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden between 4 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. The uncrewed aerial vehicles presented an imminent threat to merchant vessels, U.S. Navy and coalition ships in the region. The military said these actions are taken to protect freedom of navigation and make international waters safer and more secure. The Houthis' military spokesperson Yahya Saree said that the group had carried out 2 military operations, the first of which targeted U.S. bulk carrier Propel Fortune in the Gulf of Aden. In the second operation, Saree claimed that several U.S. military destroyers in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden were targeted by 37 drones. A French warship and fighter jet also shot down 4 combat drones that were advancing towards naval vessels belonging to the European Aspides mission in the region. His offensive action directly contributed to the protection of the cargo ship True Confidence under the Barbados flag, which was struck on March 6 and is being towed, as well as other commercial vessels transiting in the area. Lawmakers in the United States Senate passed a spending package shortly before a midnight deadline, averting a partial government shutdown. The lower house on Friday voted 75-22 to approve a $460 billion spending package of 6 bills that would fund agriculture, transportation, housing, energy, veterans, and other programs through the end of the fiscal year on September 30th. The lights would have gone out across several departments and agencies after months of deadlock in the deadly divided Congress. The bill has been sent to President Joe Biden to sign into law. In a statement ahead of the bill passage, top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer hailed the legislation as a major step towards a fully funded government. The bill easily passed the Republican-controlled House of Representatives earlier this week. Action in the Senate was delayed as some conservative Republicans pressed for vote on immigration and other topics. Congress must still work out a deal on a much larger package of spending bill covering the military, homeland security, healthcare, and other sector funding for those programs expires March 22nd. The package just passed and the pending bill that make up the federal annual budget will cost $1.66 trillion. And finally, on the foreign news, Sweden has said it is resuming aid to the cash-strapped United Nations Agency for Palestinians with an initial disbursement of $20 million after receiving assurances of extra checks on its spending and personnel. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, the main humanitarian agency in Gaza, faced an unprecedented funding crisis after its major international donors, led by the United States, cut funding over terror allegations. Several other countries, Sweden, suspended aid to the UNRWA after Israel accused about a dozen of its employees of involvement in an October 7 Hamas-led attack before the conflict in Gaza. Sweden said on Saturday that the government has allocated 400 million kronor to UNRWA for the year 2024. Today's decision concerns a first payment of 200 million to unblock the aid. The UNRWA had agreed to allow controls, independent audits to strengthen internal supervision and extra controls of personnel, the government said. The Swedish move came after the European Commission earlier this month said it will release 50 million euros in funding. On Friday, Canada announced it was lifting a freeze on funding for UNRWA after it joined the US, the United Kingdom, and other countries in cutting aid in late January. And that's all we have on the foreign news. And that's all we have on Galaxy Primetime News. Thank you so much for being a part of the news. I am Nenwaran Yumazaka.
Are you in need of a media house to cover your events? Would you like your events to be showed live on TV or just recorded? Have you been on the lookout for the best team to capture your memories? Our team has got you covered. With Galaxy 4 team on standby, we capture memories by taking full coverage of your event, both live recordings and recorded. Create awareness for social events, adverts and promos, parties, birthdays, musical shows, comedy shows, red carpet moments, album launch, listening parties, and many more, including exclusive interviews with your guests to make your day more memorable. For more inquiries, contact us via social media pages or call us on these numbers. You can also use our hashtags to tag us with hashtag Galaxy Event Moment, hashtag GEM. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, and tag us. Who knows? You could win exclusive ticket to celebrity event. Galaxy Event Moment, ready for your coverage.
More than ever before, football fans demand unique insight and analysis. The Football Review is much more than a highlights show. Bold, provocative editorial that goes beyond conventional reporting, setting the agenda for football discussion. Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga 1, and much more. Want genuine insight with hard-hitting editorial? Need compelling premium football content? The Football Review. Best, bar none.
Yes, it's finally here. Galaxy Digital Communication Network, the latest digital outside broadcast company in Nigeria, with its modern state-of-the-art vehicle equipped with a 4-play slow-motion instant replay system and a software-based 8-input vision mixing system. Transmits live events like sports, political campaigns, concerts from Abuja to Lagos, Kaduna, Port Harcourt and all parts of Nigeria. Transmit these live via satellite to the entire world. Equipped with 8 digital cameras and highly skilled engineers, Galaxy Digital Communication Network will guarantee your best affordable and best viewed outside live event. For contact, call